Your screening call serves as your first personal connection with your potential client. It should cover intensive details. Covering the structural details of your intensive, even if you've spelled this out in your marketing content and in a follow-up email to their application, people often need to hear material lots of different ways before it sinks in. So it doesn't hurt to reiterate what they should expect from your intensive. This portion of your call should take 10 minutes or less. If you want to leave the majority of the time available for potential clients to ask you questions they may have, you will also want to reserve some time for you to ask further screening questions in addition to the application. Draft a series of questions that will help you press into areas of your application that will help you get clarity on whether or not a person is motivated enough to participate in an intensive or a good candidate. You will want to ask some questions that might scale things, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to complete the work required from an intensive? If you're conducting couples therapy, you will want both partners to answer that question for themselves and about their partner. You might also ask additional questions about the client's current symptoms, their history of mental health, any relevant or medical psychiatric issues. Whatever you ask ought to be directed toward discerning if a client is a good candidate for an intensive, and specifically an intensive with you based on your specialty. I recommend drafting a screening call script with screening questions and a screening call checklist to use during your calls. This will allow you to keep the conversation focused and direct. By the end of your screening call, it should be obvious to you whether or not this person or couple is a good candidate for an intensive with you. And you should tell them kindly and respectfully and let them know. Be sure to also let them know if you're unable to accept them that it isn't because you don't want to work with them, but simply you want them to get the right treatment for them. Should you not accept them, they will probably be somewhat disappointed. After all, they are seeking your help. This is a prime opportunity to direct these individuals towards services you feel would be beneficial for them. You might suggest traditional outpatient therapy, group therapy, workshops, perhaps a psychiatrist or other medical professional, maybe teletherapy, online counseling, maybe there are community resources or self-help resources. In some cases, you may need to refer them to a higher level of care, like inpatient services. In any regard, if you feel there's a chance the client could work with you at some point later down the road, provide the steps and expectations that they would need to meet you for reassessment. Of course, if you're recommending your personal clients for an intensive, this application process may be eliminated, and an in-person screening should be sufficient for adding intensive therapy to their traditional therapy work that you're already doing. In any event, now would be the time, if you accept them, to go ahead and schedule their intensive, or sometime down the road, should they choose to, and it works with your process. All applicants should receive some kind of follow-up communication after the call. If they've been denied, thank them for their time and remind them of the alternative care options that you mentioned on the call. The next steps for those who have been accepted is to sign up for the intensive and choose their date and time. They can do this on the phone with you at the end of the screening call or in response to an invitation that you send following the call. We give our clients a 30-day window from the time of their screening acceptance to schedule an intensive. If they don't respond during that time, they are required to reapply or engage in another screening call. Another side note, some people ask if I charge for screening calls. Personally, I do not. I offer up to an hour and sometimes more for people that are considering an intensive because it's a big investment for them, and it feels like the right thing for me to be able to give them that much time to make sure it's an informed decision. However, there's no hard and fast. If you feel that you need to charge for your time, then I would say use your ethical guidelines and boundaries to define that and to make that happen.